Troops heavy fighting in the Klishkivka area south of Bakhmut. We were talking about this a few days ago, how the enemy Russian forces are maneuvering south. Maybe he's potentially looking at the bigger picture of a flank northward. So we're going to get into a bit of a map study today, guys, and an update on Ukraine. It is the 17th of January. No, it's not. Actually, it's the 18th of January. I haven't changed my calendar in a few days. So, hey, 18th of January, troops, let's just get into this one. And, yeah, thanks for being here. So here we are on the map. Thank you, Deep State, for these maps. Now, if we zoom straight into the area, we can see this is updated today. The enemy has broken into Klishkivka, and that area is more significant than you'd think, because if you look at the grand scheme of things, we just zoom out, northeastward of this area is Bahkmut. So we've got the enemy breaking through this area here. And the grand scheme of things, obviously their main focus would want, they obviously want to break into Bahkmut, guys. There's no two ways about that. But in terms of distance from this area where they've broke through, and I'm going to centralize the point here to the central point on Bahkmut, we're looking about 7.51 kilometers. However, when we look at the actual area in detail, this whole front line is more significant than you'd actually think, because they now have quite dominant control of the southern area into Bahkmut. Now, it doesn't matter how hard you defend the area of Bahkmut, they need to make sure that they're not going to be getting surrounded, because at this moment in time, you know, Russia does have east, I'm going to say south as well, although the direct buffer area in between Bahkmut itself and this area here is just fields. This area is up for grabs, okay? So expect a lot of heavy fighting within these areas. I'm guessing there's going to be trenches and stuff within this area, and a lot of the footage that we've just watched is being fought in and around these areas, guys. Russia's intention is obviously to push that front line forward to circle Bahkmut, okay? So there's a lot going on in this area. But if we look a little bit closer, the front line, Klishkivka, obviously it's I don't want to say it's not a built-up area, but it is significant in terms of gaining control. What have we got in the areas here, guys? So the enemy has pushed through this front line here. They now control Klishkivka. They're going to be pushing through this area. In terms of opposition, there's only fields and stuff. So what kind of fighting are we going to be expecting within this area? We're going to be expecting, you know, trench warfare, that type of thing. But the main area past this point, which I would be thinking is, you know, the area that they'd need to be pushing for now, and it looks as if it could be going this way, is this little settlement here. I think this could be the next big area, what they'll be pushing for, more so than actually pushing for Bahkmut. If they can take this area, they've got this wide open field, and they take this settlement, they can then push and capitalize on surrounding Bahkmut. Let's look out a little bit. You can tell that they're pushing forward as well. I think it was updated that the area to the north, I believe, let me see where this is. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that. Yeah, so the enemy is pushing further north, as you can see there. This is dangerous for Bahkmut, guys. We are seeing heavy fighting within this area. So this area in particular is we were calling it a meat grinder a couple of weeks ago, guys. It's worse than that now. All right, this area's being hammered in the surrounding areas by the Russians. I don't know how long Ukraine can hold this for, but if they push and they push forward to Ivansk, I think this is going to be devastating, to say the least, because we need to look into other means of warfare that's going to be hindered if Russia can take this area. That means they control the east, the south, and the west. They're putting pressure on the north. Resupply is going to be really, really hard. If we look at this area in terms of resupply, if Russia managed to claim this area, then there's only really one area that Ukraine can resupply from, and it's this road here. This main road system here. Granted, you've got unconventional ways to get resupplies in via the fields and stuff in other areas, but let's be honest, the main area of resupply is going to be this area here. This area, in terms of the north, is under pressure because Russia is putting a lot of pressure on the northern flank anyway, especially on the south. So this area here is obviously going to be a resupply area. They've got a main route into the city here. But if Russia's putting pressure on the south region, which they are, and they're, reasonably successful, if they can take this area, then they take potentially another point of resupply out. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Bahkmut. Are Russia going to be able to take Bahkmut without these areas? I don't think so. I think they do need to be able to surround the area to be able to take Bahkmut, because it takes the fact that they can't resupply themselves. So they're going to have to get out. So, we could see a situation where Ukraine's going to have to push out to the neighbouring settlements. Do I see that happening just yet? No, hopefully not. Guys, it's worrying, that's for sure. Now, if you've served a day in the British military, or any military for that matter, especially on the Western side of things, you'll understand the importance of kit awareness. Now, in this next clip, we see that the Russians weren't so kit aware, and the Ukrainians managed to steal a walkie-talkie. So for reference, if you can't see it, guys, this is the drone that the Ukrainian soldiers used to steal a walkie-talkie. I believe it's in this position here on the floor. We can't really see it because it's pixelated. Now, Ukraine was listening in for about 9 days, apparently, okay? We understand that operational security on the Russian side is absolutely dreadful at this moment in time. Don't see it improving anytime soon as well. Kit awareness, so it's something that gets drummed into you in, it certainly was in the British military. I was in the Royal Marines, for reference, if anyone doesn't know. I do harp on about it quite a lot, so I'm surprised if you don't. Kit awareness, in this case, operational security. Russia, they seem to be lacking in one major thing, and that's called discipline. Doesn't matter how much traction you get on the front line, if you can win over these settlements, as we're seeing, but if you don't have the discipline, and in this case, to be able to look after your kit and maintain it effectively, operational security can be compromised, and the enemy, or in this case, Russia, the friendly guys, that's the side I'm most naturally aligned with. It just shows that they can, compromise their positions, they can compromise their battle tactics and everything. So it has major effects. One person has been massively lazy on the front line there, left that bit of kit behind, and Ukraine has been able to listen in and make decisions on the ground, effectively fighting against the Russians, all because of that one bit of kit that you got left behind. It's a massively important thing. Kit awareness. Troops in Russia are showing a severe lack of discipline in many areas, okay? It does happen. You do lose kit, but this has happened time and time again. We've seen this in the stories. It's quite a prominent feature of Russia, lack of discipline.
And
so this is Mariupol, guys. It just goes to show how devastated this port town is. Absolutely horrendous. We're going to do a bit of a map study after this to have a look at the area, but sometimes the maps don't give us a true reflection of what this actually looks like on the ground. Feast your eyes on this, troops. It is absolutely horrendous. Cars burnt out, buildings destroyed, trees, infrastructure rendered useless, electricity points broken. Absolutely hideous. Homes destroyed. Even nature, the trees have been rendered useless. This is the reality of war, guys. So Russia is wanting to, occupy these lands, and by the intention of wanting to occupy these lands, what they've done in the process is absolutely destroy the areas that they actually want to take over. It's absolutely outrageous when we think of it, troops. But this is the area in question that we're looking at. So Mariupol, Yeah, devastated, all right, under Russian occupation. And what you see now, it's a while since we've done a map study here. The area from Mariupol to the front lines is quite significant. We're looking at over 80 kilometers, and that's from the shortest point, effectively, okay? 80 kilometers in distance. We haven't seen a lot of traction in these areas of recent. This whole area is massively under Russian occupation. It's going to be really, really tough to take back. I don't see the story changing anytime soon for this area. It's going to be really, really hard for Ukraine to push back, guys. I think we got our hopes up when we seen the original counteroffensive east of Kharkiv pushing through to Kupiansk. We thought that that was going to be a similar story pointing through, but we haven't seen that much traction ever since. The only bit of traction that we saw, and I say a bit candidly, was this whole area here, southeast of Mykolaiv. It was a massive operation, all right, to be able to push the Russians back. But do I see anything happening anytime soon? With the current state of affairs, the current traction levels, I don't really see that much traction happening certainly not within the next few months or so, okay? And this is the next thing I wanted to talk about. There's been a big tragedy in Brovary, Ukraine. Ukrainian officials on a helicopter crashed in the kindergarten building. So kindergarten, I'm guessing that's a school, a nursery where kids hopefully weren't studying. I'm not too sure. If anyone can drop a comment below, that would really, really help with this, because this is sensitive information and I don't want to get it wrong. But I believe a kindergarten is some form of educational establishment. All right, I don't want to mistake that. But as you can see, it's absolutely terrible what's happened there. There's multiple sources coming out whether or not this is actually Russian or an accident. So I'm not too sure. I think the next photos will explain. And for reference, these ones have been blurred out, so YouTube doesn't need to worry about censorship or anything. As you can see, terrible footage there. I don't know if it's been blurred out because of what behind it, but I don't think there's anything too bad to see here. Right, so it's saying, according to the version of the investigation, the cause of the helicopter crash in Brovary was the pilot's error. Okay, so it was potentially an accident. The helicopter was flying in the fog and touched the roof of the kindergarten, as I said above. Okay, so it might have been an accident, troops. Again, troops, this is terrible stuff that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis. The people of Ukraine must be terrified, and it's the generations that are coming after them that I worry about the most. You know, the kids growing up through war, they grow up with anger and spite and hate in their hearts, and they end up hating a group of people who effectively have nothing to do with it, all right? It's politics, as always, in this one, and we should hate the policies behind the war, not the people behind the country of the policies that we're holding. And I'll always make that, okay? I don't hate Russian people. I don't hate Ukrainians. It's the policies and the politicians that I have a disliking to. It's not good, to say the least, guys. But that's all we've got for today's update. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you do, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, if you want to support me a little bit further, please consider joining the Patreon. The Patreon is where I put all of my ad-free, uncensored content on there, because I can't do that on YouTube. But wherever you are, stay safe, have your thoughts with Ukraine. And yeah, troops, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you very much. Take it easy. Bye-bye.